but me being the eldest volunteer there, he sort of gave me the responsibility of, or the opportunity to lead the whole tuition center, because obviously they offer other services like counseling and stuff, financial guidance and all that. So in that area, he says, are you capable or are you confident in taking up the responsibility of leading the tuition? So I go, okay, let me try it out. But you see, he takes advice from me as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
because he's not the
leader.
He's the leader per se of that service center, but he doesn't take it his responsibility to lead everything. So he takes the experience and the leadership of other people to sort of share that leadership role, you know. And then there was another guy who's more experienced in managing the group of volunteers who goes to schools and conducts that every weekend. So he teams up with that guy as well, and he says, okay, this is the guidance, or this is the guidelines where we need to achieve. At the end of the day, I have to report back to the grassroots and say how many hours of, for example, community service the volunteers have done, how many hours of tuition we have done. So let's work collaboratively, and that's a non-profit organization. Yeah. So the goals of the, well, grassroots, or actually it's the public's goal, is shared between the volunteers, and whoever wants to step up as a leader has that ability to do so, or if they don't want to, it's fine as well. But he takes, his approach is to share that leadership. And from what I compare, he's not the only center manager who does that approach. Everybody else, all the other center managers does that as well. So it's it gives that the environment is able to allow him to do that. And it says here too that managers in the non-profit sector need to be acutely sensitive to the desires of the workforce to have a voice in the leadership of the organization, because in non-profit everybody can contribute. Mm-hmm. So and everybody's got the leadership qualities to be able to lead in some way. Yeah. So that comes back to innovation or in an innovative, creative environment, do we necessarily need to have a leader? Perhaps yes, to drive down the goals of whoever, of the whole non-profit organization, perhaps. But within each creative environment, I think we can share that leadership. Of course, there are obviously other views to it, but that's where I'm coming from. So, are we in the direction of looking at various creative, innovative environments, like knowledge-based or non-profit, and then see what leadership context is to be developed in that? Or do we want to go into that hierarchical, traditional way of the environment, and then see where leadership works?
There are as you say, that hierarchical, flat organizations, and we can also take some diverse cultural organizations. But I have to press. If diverse cultural organizations are also flat organizations?
Oh. No, I don't. There could be hierarchical organizations with many cultures as well.
So, okay. So, yeah, exactly. So, like diverse cultural organization can be hierarchical and flat organization as well at the same time.
What's the point? Culture being, I mean, your point is it that culture is an important aspect?
Actually, I was confused at that point. I was just asking, I'm not sure about it. I'm just asking that what are the diverse cultural organizations? Like in Australia, there are many organizations where many people are working. Many are from China, Philippines, Brazil, India, Asia, etc. So these are basically diverse cultural organization, or these are also a hierarchical organization. What's that? I'm not.
Well, let me just define what hierarchy means. Hierarchy is, for example, the police force. You have those who just the officers, and then you have the sergeants,
Yes.
I know.
Different
I know
levels.
there are different levels in
Yes.
hierarchical, and in flat organization they are not. They don't work. There are
No.
empowerment like power sharing organization. Is it? Please flat
Flat
organization.
organizations mean that everybody's a manager. For example, CEO, and then manager,
Okay.
you know.
Okay.
And maybe you have one more layer down, which
Oh,
is
okay.
maybe in an IT organization, maybe the programmers.
Oh, okay.
And then you have the project managers, and then you have the owner of the
Okay.
company,
I
for
got it.
example.
I got
It's
it.
very few layers.
Yeah.
That means to say that the project managers are empowered to,
Yeah.
do a
But
lot more.
always will necessarily the layers. Always will be the different levels of the responsibility.
Yeah. So
always.
diverse cultural environment can
Flat
be
and
hierarchical
hierarchical
and
always.
flat as well.
Always.
Okay.
It is
So
necessary.
that's-
yeah.
It's compulsory.
I was confused about that.
Yeah. Culture, it's, everywhere.
Yep.
You
Oh,
have
yeah.
many people from different
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
But it's about how the organization structures itself. Yeah. So that's a good starting point. Do we actually want to focus on the flat learning organization, which is more current, as opposed to the
Hierarchical.
hierarchical? Which I'm quite sure majority of organizations are also still very hierarchical now.
Yeah.
Very traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Government organizations, police force, or the civil sector.
And the private sector is the same. Always
Yeah.
there could be a flatter system,
Yeah.
but it is necessary a boss, a manager,
Yeah,
it's you.
there is
Always, it is necessary.
exactly.
It is necessary. It's impossible. All is the same. It's impossible.
And in Indonesia, in government agencies, it's so hard to be innovative, creative, because you always have to, there are layers you have to go through, and the bureaucracy.
Bureaucracy is different.
Have to go through so many layers.
Yeah.
Uh, Perhaps you can play around those two. Can we do it? Like taking leadership and innovative in an hierarchical
Comparative analysis.
context, and then the flat, what do you call that? Flat organization. Perhaps you can do
Both of these.
We compare.
Yes, we can compare.
so
these.
that
Wouldn't
we
it
could
be-
have an argument.
Wouldn't that be too broad? Or
Yeah,
would
I
that
like
be-
your point. Yeah, we can compare these two.
The innovation
organizations.
process between
Between
a
hierarchical-
traditional
How
hierarchical
leadership and
flat.
innovation can come
Yes.
into a traditional kind of organization in the 21st,
Yes.
something like that.
Yeah, but what is the argument then if we compare?
That
One leadership,
innovation can, it really depends upon the setup of the organization.
or leadership can take place in any organization
yes.
to some extent. I mean, there, but
We will be covering quite a lot, because my thinking is you're covering leadership styles in hierarchical organizations, leadership styles in flat organizations, and then you find where the similarities and the differences
Yes.
are. That's a lot.
it's a
That's a
lot.
lot. If we want to focus on, because our content must be just the differences and similarities, or because that will also mean we have to do a fair bit of contrasting. That's a lot.
I think so. For our presentation. Yes. To narrow.
Narrow down, yeah. To narrow down.
The most important for our classmate is understand what do you need, what we need to do a good leadership. It depends the context, I know. Cultural, all the organizational
Yeah.
types, it depends. But always we can find a basic points, a basic characteristics. So the most important is give some tools for our classmates to understand how they can use, improve, or create their own techniques or tools to do a leader.
But
So in this
Techniques
order,
or tools, can you come again, sorry?
tools
techniques
or
or
techniques to do a leader. So for example, exists one, it depends on organizational context, yes, but what do you need to do a leader and create environments suitable to innovate, to change?
Okay. You are trying to say that we have to convey our message to the class that how to be a good leader, how to